everyone, and welcome back to another video. If my voice sounds a little different, I'm starting to come down with a cold. I don't feel good. So we'll just try to keep this short and simple today. So today, I am happy to say that Chaos did receive a little bit of a buff, but unfortunately, it's still not that good. Now, if you don't know, I made a video putting all the Tycoons in order from weakest to strongest, and Chaos got pretty low on this list, despite it being a Tycoon that cost 15 rebirths. It still wasn't as good as Frostbite, Lightning, or Underlord, so yeah. Unfortunately, Chaos just in general has a lot of issues that it really shouldn't have. So, it looks cool, it looks strong, and it costs a lot of rebirths, but unfortunately it's more bark than bite. So the buff that they did was with the move Boulder, alright? Before, when I made that previous video, Boulder didn't work. However, now it does work. As you can see, it just drops a Boulder on them for 65 damage, alright? It's got area effect with like a 15-second cooldown. So, yeah, since that move did get fixed, Chaos is a little bit stronger because before it didn't do anything at all. So, yeah, I'm happy to see that. Developers, I'm glad you guys fixed that, so good job on that. However, Chaos, even with that, it still isn't enough to move Chaos up higher on that list because it still has the other problems. Let's address each of those issues and how I personally would go around fixing them, alright? First off, the first three moves, I wouldn't touch them. Searing Chain is the best stun in the game. Don't need to be touched, alright? I'd say this one is a pretty good move. Chaos Burst. Chaos Burst is also... I would definitely say Chaos Burst could use a better hitbox, because we're going to target this guy's arm, alright? Yeah, as you can see, that didn't even hit him. That hit him? Okay, so yeah, you really gotta hit the body for that, otherwise it'll just fly past you. I would honestly say this move needs a better hitbox, and 40 damage honestly isn't much, but I do like the recharge. The area of effect on this one is also good, so really the only way I'd say this could be improved is a better hitbox, You gotta be really accurate with it. But so maybe slightly bigger, so that if it touches them at all, it hit the rock, so it did go off, but yeah. This move is really easy for players to dodge, especially ones with my speed. So, in PvP, this would be a terrible move to rely on, unless you're super accurate, or fighting someone really slow. And, they're not NPCs, they're probably not going to just run straight into it. They'll be able to move to the side, because it's not the fastest move, so, easy to dodge. I would definitely say increase the hitbox on it. That would fix Chaos Burst. Next up, we got Plasma Blast. Plasma Blast is my favorite design, but I would also say it's the weakest. So the way it works is, it fires this huge beam of energy that creates a small explosion on impact. However, let's try to... As you can see, he was entirely inside that beam, alright? This is quite literally a large projectile. Cooldown isn't too bad, but unfortunately the hitbox is. As you can see, it was right next to him, and it didn't even touch him. Even though he was entirely encompassed by that attack, it did nothing to him. Yeah, that hitbox needs an upgrade, needs a major buff. Alright. Alright. And now let's look at the area of effect. Okay, so we'll hit this tree right here. As you can see, even though it just landed right next to him, it did nothing. No. So you have to be super... So despite the huge size of this move, you have to be really accurate. Damage-wise, 55 damage, honestly, it looks like it deals a lot more than just 55 damage. I would definitely say to increase the damage a little bit, like, not to like anything like 100, but I would definitely say like 80 to 90 damage for this move. It landed right in between them and did nothing to them. So yeah, hitbox, the area of effect, and the damage, all of those need to be buffed for Plasma Blast. Explosive rounds, I feel like I didn't give this move enough credit, alright? Because the way this one works is it's a rapid fire barrage of bullets. Individually, they don't deal a lot of damage, but together, you're not firing a single shot, you're firing a bunch of shots in quick succession. I also like the cooldown on this one. You know, this one is definitely a good move. But unfortunately, the AoE just is not that good. Now, I would say this move is well balanced for what it does, you know? It's not in need of a buff, but it wouldn't be a bad thing if you maybe increase the AoE of each round, like each of those explosions, maybe 25 to 50% bigger radius. You know, if possible. I mean, it doesn't need it, but wouldn't... Well, it wouldn't hurt. Well, it would hurt, but honestly, Chaos could use the buff. Now, you might be thinking, well, this would make Chaos far more powerful. Good. Chaos needs to be far more powerful, because it is 15 rebirths, alright? Underlord, which, you know, Frostbite, which costs 8 rebirths, is better in PvP and in fighting NPCs. Lightning, with 2 rebirths, is better. You know, for AoE, for speed, you know, it's just better in pretty much every way. You know, Underlord is better with 4 rebirths, you know. The Tycoon that comes after Chaos is Celestial, which is really good. And Samurai, which is also really good. Alright, it deserves to be number 4 on the list, because it looks strong, it sounds like it should be strong, but it's just unfortunately Boulder, which we've already shown. I like the AoE, I like the damage, and I like the cooldown. So yeah. Boulder, I really like what they did with Boulder, right? It deals decent damage, it doesn't have the highest... It doesn't have the worst cooldown. Alright, so the last move that we're going to show that is in need of a major buff is Nuclear Explosion. The move that I am quite sure is the reason why 99% of the players who use Chaos in the first place, alright? They see that it has Nuclear Explosion. They see it has a move called Nuclear Explosion and immediately assume that it's overpowered. Alright? What it does is it drops a bomb, like a meteor, which creates a big mushroom cloud. It has a good area of... It's huge, the area of effect is pretty good. And it has a 60-second cooldown. Alright? So, yeah. It looks good, right? I think it looks pretty cool. It looks really good, right? So we're going to go to the Demon Realm to show off Nuclear Explosion. Because it is unfortunately the strongest move, the highest damage move that Chaos has. And yes, I say unfortunately, because the damage is not impressive. Alright, these guys have 300 health. What this move does, when you drop the nuke, the damage is unfortunately 100. 100 damage for a 60-second cooldown. That is very sad. Alright? You might think, well, that's a lot of damage. Now, in case you don't realize how unbalanced that is, let's go look at another Tycoon. Let's check out Frostbite's ultimate and see how much damage it does. We'll grab Blizzard, and let's go test the damage, alright? Alright, fresh ones. Use it. And look at that. Over 241 damage with a far lower cooldown. And keep in mind, this is the Tycoon right before Chaos. Let's just grab another one, shall we? Yeah, 45-second cooldown for 241 damage. Let's check the damage on this. Underlord. $90 damage, so slightly less, but, so you know, 90 damage. That's only 10 damage less than Chaos's ultimate. This one, first off, stuns players completely, it locks them in place, and it has a, let's see that cooldown again? Oh, a 20-second cooldown. So, you know, only 10 damage less with one-third of the time that you have to wait. So yeah, this one, just way better. By the time they can use Nuclear Explosion again, you can hit them with this move 6 times. So, you know, by the time they're able to do 200 damage with Nuclear Explosion, you do 450 damage. I think I've gotten my point across, but just in case you don't realize how bad this is, let's look at Wynn's ultimate, shall we? What was that, a 25-second cooldown for 370 damage. 370 damage with only a 25-second cooldown. Hold on. I need to see again. Yeah, 25 seconds. Less than half the time. You get 3 times the damage from the Wind ultimate with less than half the time. Granted, the AoE is good, but still, the AoE alone isn't gonna save you in a fight when they can literally just spam you with 300 damage. I am sorry to say that Chaos's ultimate is, it's bad. Like, the way it's balanced is not good at all. So, you know, you have to wait a full, and once again, you have to wait a full 60 seconds to use it a second time. A full 60 seconds for a tiny amount of damage. Relatively tiny. Like, it'll still deal a chunk of damage, even to me. But, like, it's just not worth it. I am sorry to say, this Tycoon, not worth it at all. Alright, not worth using. At all, in its current state. Yeah, sorry to say, Nuclear Explosion is just not good. And I would understand if this were an early game Tycoon, but it's not. 15 rebirths compared to, you know, Wind is a starter rebirth. You get Wind at the start of the game and you're already doing more damage than someone with 15 rebirths, okay? Now, that's not to say you can't win with Chaos. Searing Chain is the best stun in the game. So you know what? How would I fix this move? Alright? Could be better. And Nuclear Explosion, first off, decrease the cooldown, increase the damage. Everything else can remain the same. Instead of dealing just 100 damage, it should deal 125 to 150 damage. And instead of a 60-second cooldown, it should be a 40-second cooldown. Alright? And I can understand, because there is in fact a nuke in the game. It deals 1,000 damage, and every Tycoon can unlock it. So I can understand if nuclear explosion is meant to be 1/10 the strength of that. On paper, that sounds good, but in practice, 100 damage is just not good. And yeah, that one also has a 60-second cooldown, so far less damage for the same cooldown. No. I understand if you guys try to do that, but in practice, it's just not good in PvP. You might be able to kill some brand new players with this, but if you're fighting anyone with a decent amount of stats, if they've got the 3 Tycoons that come before Chaos, you're in for a difficult fight. So yeah, that is how I would recommend fixing all the moves, alright? So, before we finish on the video, I want to say, developers, you guys have done a good job so far. It just needs a little bit more tweaking before it's actually worth the 15. Now, you might think, wow, you might think all these changes might make Chaos really powerful. And yes, that is a good thing, because it is a 15 rebirth Tycoon. Frostbite only costs 8. Underlord, which is the 4th strongest Tycoon in the game, the one that comes before Celestial and Samurai and Space, alright? Underlord, which only costs 4 rebirths, is the 4th strongest. Lightning, which only costs 2 rebirths, is the 5th strongest. And Frostbite, 8 rebirths, is the 6th strongest. Chaos is much weaker than Frostbite, and it costs way more rebirths. So yes, Chaos should be strong. It's a later game Tycoon, so that it costs a bunch of rebirths to get. It should be really strong. It shouldn't be as strong as, say, Celestial or Samurai or Space, because those 3 are the end game, but it still should be number 4. So yes, Chaos definitely does need to be strong. Alright, it honestly needs to be strong to be worth the 15 rebirths that it takes to get it. And it looks really cool, like Plasma Blast. That looks freaking awesome. Nuclear Explosion, it's a freaking mushroom cloud. That's really awesome. Chaos Burst, definitely really cool looking. That didn't even hit them. But yeah, arguably, I would definitely say Chaos is one of the weakest Tycoons in just general. It's not that good for fighting NPCs, it's not that good in PvP. The only thing it does do well is look really awesome. So I definitely say it needs a buff, like major buff. Now I do want to say that I'm not saying that the developers did a terrible job with this, alright? The moves are really cool looking, they just need a bit of a stat buff, alright? That's the only problem I have with Chaos. If you're not a developer, I definitely recommend not using this Tycoon until they buff it. And if you are one of the developers, once you're done with that other game you guys are working on, just remember that Chaos is in desperate need of a buff. So we'll call the video there, because my throat's sore. If you guys enjoyed somehow, or this video helped you in any way, please be sure to leave a like and hit subscribe, as both of those really help out with the channel. And yeah, with that, my friends, sayonara.